Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you are able to hear me loud and clear. Just type down yes in the chat window. VIC, yes, 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 yes. GM all, yes, 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 Amank. Okay, great. Awesome. So, first of all, a warm welcome to this Data Care conference, everyone. This is Himang this side. So, the folks who don't know me, I'll just start with a quick introduction of mine. My name is Himang Sharma. I work as a product manager for the data science and AI vertical here at Insaid. So I'll be your host for today, and we'll be having a great conversation with Rituparna. So Rituparna, hope you are able to hear me loud and clear.
Hey, Monk, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rituparna. First of all, warm welcome to Insaid, Rituparna. I hope I hope you can turn on the camera as well.
Just give me a minute. It shows that I can't start my video.
Just give me a minute. I'll just make co-host. I think then you'll get the access to the same. Yeah. Is it there now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. First of all, I would like to share a very short information about Rituparna, and I'm really, proud to say this. Rituparna had some kind of an medical emergency yesterday, and I'm really, really glad to see such kind of a professional commitment that she is sitting with us today. So really, really thanks Rituparna for having that commitment. Will not take much of your time. So thanks for giving us that time slot that you had. So talking about Rituparna over here, first of all, Rituparna also belongs from, she's also a BITS Pilani alumni. And if I would like to give a brief about Rituparna. She's I think all of you have already seen that she is working as a data scientist at Microsoft. She's a young professional serving in the healthcare domain. I don't know how many of you know this, but the month of June is actually primarily for healthcare embark for men. But we decided to celebrate this month irrespective of any gender biases, and we thought we'll come up with a webinar with a conference having some of the best healthcare professionals from this field. So, and advancing on the same lines, we also quickly took these moments to understand how data science is upskilling in the healthcare sector, and that obviously Miss Rituparna will help us out understand that. And apart from that, she has also worked in companies like ZS. Then she has also worked in companies like Philips Healthcare, Cognizant, etc., and has solved a wide range of real-time use cases throughout her experience. Right, so it's going to definitely be very insightful event. So without any delay, let's get started with the words from Rituparna itself. Over to you, Rituparna. And first of all, before even going ahead with it, I would like everyone to welcome Rituparna over here in the panel. So yeah, I'll just stop share my screen now. Rituparna, over to you. I hope the time that you are going to spend here here at Insaid is going to be a very insightful one. Everyone would like to ask you many questions. So first of all, we'll hear everything from Rituparna, how healthcare is upscaling. In the meanwhile, in the end, we'll open a forum for a round of Q&A. We'll take up as many questions as possible. Yeah, over to you, Rituparna. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Himang, for having me today and for giving me this opportunity. So, hi everyone, I'm Rituparna. If you find my name too long, you can call me Ritu as well. So, I'm currently working as a data scientist in Microsoft. And talking about my corporate experience, I graduated from BITS Pilani in the year 2018, and post that I started working in Cognizant Technology Solutions as a data scientist. For majority of my tenure in Cognizant, I was stationed at Philips Healthcare in the Philips Innovation Campus, which was my client. After a brief stint in Cognizant, I moved to ZS Associate as a data science associate, where I got to solve some of the very interesting use cases dealing with data science, healthcare, and pharmaceuticals. So it was in ZS that I got the opportunity to work with some of the best pharmaceutical companies in the world, and I got an extensive experience of how data science impacts the field of healthcare and pharmaceuticals. So working in ZS was definitely a very brilliant learning experience for me. And after ZS, I have been working at Microsoft as a data scientist in the Microsoft Cloud Data Sciences team. So over here, my work generally deals with applied machine learning use cases, which are mostly around generative networks, reinforcement learning, and a lot of other like cool stuffs. So this is all about me, and today I shall be like focusing on the impact which data science has on healthcare and pharmaceutical. So this is something, which is like one of the most like impactful trends around the world, that how data science is revolutionizing the field of pharmaceutical, how data science is revolutionizing the field of healthcare. So let me start with that. I'll just share my screen. Just give me a minute.
Sorry to cut you down, Rituparna.
Yeah.
I would request all of you, first of all, to whatever questions you guys have, I would request all of you to put it up in the Q&A window so that we have a track of the question. Because if you are putting it in the chat window, the question might miss out. So can I just quickly get it done in the chat window if you get the suggestion that I have put it over here? Just open up your Q&A window and you can put up all the questions required. Yeah, throughout the session, obviously, you'll get questions. Chalo, over to you, Rituparna.
Yeah, sure. So impact of data science on healthcare and pharmaceutical sector. Now, like, why are we exactly talking about this? That, why exactly, we need to talk about this innovations in the field of healthcare, the developments in the field of healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Like, what significance do this development have, and why exactly do we have the need to revolutionize the field of healthcare? So, like all of you, like I have grown up hearing this same old proverb that, like something is lost if money is lost, and everything is lost if health is lost. So growing up, I never took this proverb like seriously, and I was like, this is such a weird proverb, and is health really this much important? And my thought proved to be very, very wrong when the entire world saw one of the worst tragedies occurring in the form of COVID-19. So COVID-19 changed everything. It impacted jobs, it impacted business, it impacted the lives of people, and it impacted their way of living. Like COVID-19 changed everything. It was a catastrophic change for everyone. And it was one of the most catastrophic things till date which we have witnessed. So this puts a lot of emphasis that lapses in healthcare come with major consequences and have far-reaching effects. So as we can see from the ongoing COVID tragedy, that lapses in healthcare shouldn't happen, and healthcare should be the central focus of development and innovation. Now, coming to the impact of data science on healthcare. So data science is impacting healthcare in a very positive way. And healthcare has been completely revolutionized with the invent of data science techniques, machine learning models, deep learning models, and so on. So, but the thing is that, like in majority of the cases, especially in case of students, when we talk about data science and healthcare, they kind of consider it to be like completely different entities. People think that, like data science and healthcare are just two completely divergent domains. Data science is something, very much related to computer science, mathematics, and all. And healthcare and pharmaceutics is something very much related to biology, making medicines and all. How can they converge exactly? How can data science impact your healthcare? Well, this was exactly my thought process when I was pursuing my graduation in BITS. And and this was also the thought process of people around me, but my industry experience at ZS and Philips taught me otherwise. So data science is being used in every aspect of healthcare, starting from drug discovery, pharmacovigilance, to business management in the form of demand forecasting and supply chain management. So data science is being used in every aspect of healthcare, and it's revolutionizing it in a positive way. So moving next, what are some of the impacts of data science in healthcare and pharmaceuticals? So some of the fields which the data science is impacting is drug discovery, pharmacovigilance, clinical trials, medical imaging, business management in the form of supply chain management, demand forecasting, patient analytics. So these are some of the areas in healthcare sector which data science is impacting. So starting with, we have the concept of drug discovery and pharmacovigilance. Now, what exactly do you mean by drug discovery? So when COVID-19 was at its peak, so when COVID-19 was hitting its peak, there was a lot of despair around, when a new COVID medication is going to come, when a cure for COVID is going to come, when a vaccination is going to come and all. So in the news, you have been constantly hearing about terms like drug discovery, vaccination, clinical trial, and everything. These have become just very common jargons during those times. Now, what exactly are these? What exactly is drug discovery? Well, drug discovery, as the name indicates, is the process of discovering of a new medication. Now, I discovered a new medication. Okay, how do I know that the medication is going to be effective on my target? How do I know that, what is its efficacy on my required target? So this forms a part of clinical trial. And after the medication is administered, if the medication is going to have any adverse effect, so all during the COVID, you have been hearing the terms called comorbidities. You have been hearing it constantly that, so and so person had comorbidities, he got negatively impacted by COVID, he got negatively impacted by a specific medication. So after this medication is administered, how are we going to know that, this medication is going to have extreme adverse effects? And a medication having adverse effects is very dangerous, and it can be a fatal situation as well. So this forms a part of a field called pharmacovigilance. So clinical trial essentially sees the efficacy and the impact of the medication on a given target, and pharmacovigilance takes into account the adverse side effects of the medication. Now, coming next, after we figure out what is the efficacy of the given medication, what are its side effects, what are the drivers of these, what is driving the efficacy of the particular drug, or what is responsible for causing the adverse side effects. So these are some of the questions which can be answered using data science and machine learning algorithms. So what I can do is I can take the pharmacokinetic properties of the drug as my features along with the features of my target. I can combine both of them and I can take them as my X variable, and using that I can define a predictive model which is going to predict the efficacy of the drug on the given target. So by pharmacokinetic property of the medication, I mean that, specific properties of the medication, like when it's going to reach a peak level in our body, or how quickly is it going to degrade, or if it's susceptible to degradation by a specific enzyme in our body. So these are some of the pharmaco properties of a medication. Say, for example, I have a specific antibiotic medication, and I want to see its impact on a specific pathogen. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the specific characteristics or the specific PKPD properties of the antibiotics, which are like its peak, in what time it reaches its peak dosage, what is its degradation time, and if it's susceptible to degradation by enzymes, or what is its solubility. So these kind of characteristics of the medication I'll take, and on the pathogen side I'll consider some of the features, like like what are the protein receptors present on the cell wall of the pathogen, what are the biomarkers present, what is the structure of the RNA, and using this I'm going to define a predictive model which is going to predict that if the particular drug is going to be effective on the specific pathogen, having so and so RNA structure, having so and so biomarkers, having so and so protein receptors. So this is, in a way, we can use data science for conducting clinical trials of medications, and this will help us to determine if the particular medication will be effective on the given target or not. Now, we determine the efficacy. Okay, and we are now thinking about administering the medication. Now, what if the medication has some extreme side effects on our target? Say, like I'm kind of taking a particular medication which is going to affect my heart, or I'm taking a particular medication which is going to negatively impact my liver, and like what are the different side effects which the medication can cause. So in this case, what I can do is I can again take the PKPD properties of the medication, and after that I can combine it with the properties of the target. Like what is the particular target, if it's targeting the entire body, if it's targeting a specific organ, and after that I'll take in other factors also, like if there is some kind of problem with a specific organ, or if a person has other comorbidities, like as a person might have thyroid, a person might have diabetes, a person might have hypertension, a person might have a person might be like susceptible to cholesterol specific problems. So if he has like comorbidities or not, and using this variable and using these variables, I'll design a predictive model which is going to predict that given these circumstances, the medication is going to have an adverse impact or not. So this forms a part of pharmacovigilance, and it is very essential because medications above a specific value can have very adverse effects, and this test is very essential in conducting the dosage analysis of medications, like how much dose of the medication has to be taken in order for the medication to be impactful and for it to not have any side effects. So these are some of the very simplistic predictive models I can design to help with clinical trials, drug discovery, and pharmacovigilance. Now I have identified that the medication has an efficacy, the medication has got a side effect. So these things have been determined. Now how do I estimate that like the efficacy and what is actually causing the efficacy of the particular medication? So how am I going to know that like what is impacting the efficacy positively, what is impacting the efficacy negatively? Or say suppose a medication is having an adverse effect, so what is impacting the like what is causing the adverse effect, and what is trying to inhibit the adverse effect? So we know like a lot of machine learning models, like tree-based machine learning models like random forest, XGBoost, they come up with feature importance, and we have methods like SHAP and LIME which gives us the directionality of the features, like if they are positively impacting the model, if they are positively impacting the like outcome variable, or if they're negatively impacting the outcome variable. So we can use these techniques to arrive at a conclusion that what factors are positively impacting the medication, what factors are positively impacting the efficacy, what factors are negatively impacting the efficacy, what factors are causing the side effect, and what factors are inhibiting the side effects. Basically, we can know about the drivers of the specific processes. So this is how we can use predictive analytics, we can use like feature engineering, we can use interpretable machine learning in drug discovery, pharmacovigilance, and clinical trials. Now all these analysis are done, and we arrive at some conclusions. So what exactly are your pharmacokinetic studies, and how they come into picture? So we arrive at a conclusion that a given medication is not effective in our body because it's getting too quickly metabolized by our body. So our body is degrading the medication more quickly than required. So before the medication shows its impact, the medication is getting degraded. So this is what your pharmacokinetic study does. So pharmacokinetic study essentially studies the order of the kinetic of a particular medication. So as you all might be knowing that the medications in our body like follow a specific order of kinetics. Like it can be a zero order kinetic, it can be a first order kinetic, it can be a second order kinetic. So this order of kinetic determines when the medication reaches its peak dosage and after what time it faces degradation. And 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 and, and these these studies are very essential because if a medication gets like metabolized or degraded like before it reaches its peak dosage, then it does not show its efficacy. So this is what pharmacokinetic study does. It makes use of curve fitting techniques, mathematical modelings to model the to model the kinetics of the specific medication. And in this way we can control the and in this way we can study the kinetic of the medication, and we can also control its degradation process. So you all might be knowing about like medications like sustained release formulations or enteric coated tablets. So what essentially happens is these are the medications which face quick degradation, and what happens is the degradation process of these medications are essentially like slowed down due to a specific coating or due to a specific substance. And this is only possible due to the pharmacokinetic studies, which makes use of mathematical modeling and other predictive analytic techniques. So this is how machine learning and data science impacts your drug discovery, clinical trial, and pharmacovigilance. So moving next. So this was all related to your drug discovery and identifying the right kind of medicine. And this is very essential in screening of the right kind of medications, and this screening is especially important for critical disorders like your cancers, then retinopathy, so and other rare disorders like your autosomal disorders. So this screening is very, very essential for it. Now, after the screening is done, we come to the diagnostics part. And one of the most important techniques which is used for diagnostics is the medical imaging. Medical imaging is one of the most important diagnostic tools today. So we use medical imaging for a wide variety of diagnostics, starting from cancer, retinopathy, osteoarthritis. So all of these like chronic ailments make use of medical imaging. And at the same time, it's also used to it's also used for identification of injuries. Injuries can be anything. It can be broken limbs, concussions, to extremely serious hemorrhages in the brain. So medical imaging is the field which has been extremely instrumental in identifying some of the most rare and some of the most dangerous disorders in the body. And medical imaging is one of the fields which has seen a lot of improvement, especially in the quality of the images, thanks to the technical advancements in the field. So what used to happen earlier is people used to rely on these kind of techniques, like they used to rely on X-rays, ultrasounds to kind of get a better diagnostics. Ultrasound is still being used today. It's still popular today, but a big drawback of ultrasound is that it cannot provide you high quality images, or it cannot give you high resolution images. So this is where the concept of 3D imaging comes in, which helps to improve the quality of the ultrasounds. And all of you might be knowing that, like for the detection of breast cancer, we use this technique called mammographs. So a traditional mammograph often uses X-ray along with mammograph plates, and this does not give us a very clear like a clear resolution of the lessons. And breast cancer, and it's extremely important in case of breast cancer to detect these lessons at an early stage, because because it advances very rapidly after that. And with the X-ray imaging and with the lesson images not being very clear, so this detection at an early stage of breast cancer is not possible. But nowadays, thanks to 3D mammograph techniques, which give like very clear resolution of the image, this early detection of breast cancer is possible. So so machine learning techniques have been helping us for the early and swift diagnosis of very critical ailment which require immediate medical attention. So we have been seeing that, like state of art machine learning techniques, like your convoluted neural networks, your transfer learning, transformer architecture, then your then your generative networks, like your adversarial networks, have been very instrumental in bringing about positive change in the field of medical imaging. And a lot of it contribute to improving the quality of the images, the early and swift diagnosis of complications which require immediate medical attention, reducing unwanted noise in medical images, effective pattern recognition, thus leading to better diagnostics. So these are some of the positive changes being brought about by state-of-art machine learning techniques. Now, there is a very there's a very crucial problem which is faced by machine learning use cases in real life. So a lot of machine learning algorithms we use are supervised machine learning algorithms. So meaning we need labeled data for these models to be effective. Now, getting a labeled data in real life use cases, especially in case of images, is actually slightly difficult, because you might not always have labeled data considering the huge volume of images. And like labeling the images, as say I'm labeling a positive image which has got cancer as positive and negative, so this requires a lot of diagnostics knowledge. So the knowledge curve is also steep in these cases. Now, how are we going to overcome this kind of problem? So this problem can be overcome by the use of generative adversarial networks. So these generative adversarial networks are one of the biggest breakthroughs in the case of machine learning algorithms. And they have been like very, very useful in the field of medical imaging. These generative adversarial networks work well with or without labels. So what exactly an adversarial network does? You have an image, it reconstructs another image from the original image. So the reconstructed image only has that information which is essential. So while it's reconstructing that image, it's in a way performing a kind of compression, which is kind of removing all your unnecessary details from the original image. So because of this property of the generative adversarial networks, it is extensively used in the field of anomaly detection to denoise the images and improve its quality. So adversarial networks have a very, very positive impact on improving the quality of the images. So all the 3D techniques I talked about before this make use of this particular technique. So as you can see over here in these cases, so as you can see, this is an original image which is not very clear. And the same image has been reconstructed using a generative adversarial network, which looks way more clearer and has way more better resolution than the original image. Similarly, in this case, you might be seeing that, like this is a particular image, and this particular image has less number of features than this image, but it contains only those features which are essential for the diagnostics. So this in a way helps to filter out the noise which is there, which is there in the images. Again, if you compare this image and this image, we see that this image is missing certain aspects of this image. Now, this is very much essential to be in place, because we need to focus only on a specific organ or only on a specific part of that organ and not on the entire thing. And with this kind of clutter present, it's very difficult to get a concise focus on the on the location where we want to conduct the diagnostics. So generative networks have been very instrumental in denoising, improving the image quality, and retaining only important features from the image, which helps in increasing the quality of the diagnostics. So this is with the generative adversarial networks. Now, as I talked about like diseases which require medical attention at a very early stage. So one of such disease is your diabetic retinopathy. So what exactly is your diabetic retinopathy? So people who have like high blood sugar are very much prone to this disease called diabetic retinopathy. So what this disease does, it damages your tissues in the light sensitive cells in your retina, which causes partial or complete blindness. And the most scary fact about this is that diabetic retinopathy does not come with a lot of side effects. So it becomes very late for a person to kind of detect this disease or to come up with the diagnostics, and by that time a majority portion of the retina would have got destroyed. So I found this particular article in IEEE, which mentions that how we can how we can scan for like diabetic retinopathy, and how we can study its progress as well. So it just does not stop at just identifying if it's a retinopathy or not. It also monitors its progress, that like what will be its severity after say X months in the time frame. So, so the very first thing which they have done is they have defined few severity scales. So there are few severity scales. You have like 2+, you have severity scale from 10 to 12, you have severity scale 14, 15, 20, you have severity scale 35. So these are the different severity scale with which the disease is going to progress. Now, what they are doing, they are taking different images of this retinopathy of the patient, and they are passing it through a transfer learning framework. So this transfer learning framework is giving the like probability that what is the probability that like what is the probability that that there will be 2+ there will be 2+ severity scale progression at the end of X month. Say my X is 6 months. So what is the probability that after 6 months the severity of the disease will be more than 2? So this basically predicts the probability of this particular image of having a particular level of severity after a specific time frame. And this they do it for multiple images of the same patient. So all these images belong to the same patient, and this they do for multiple images of the same patient. So they pass each of these image to a transfer learning framework, and it it outputs the probability that it outputs the probability of progression of the disease at 2+ severity scale after X months. And then what they do, they take all this probability, pass it through a random forest framework, which predicts that after X months the person will have a 2+ a 2+ scale severity, a 2+ severity like progression of the disease. So like the random forest is basically going to predict that after say 6 months my disease progression will be 2 on a severity scale. So this is very essential for the identification of diabetic retinopathy, because this is a very dangerous disorder, and it's responsible for a majority of the diabetic patients who face like partial or complete blindness. And this disease is not identified like at a very early stage, and this kind of techniques not only helps to identify the disease, but also helps to monitor the progress over a time frame, that after X months what will be the particular severity of this disease. So this is very essential to detect a disease like diabetic retinopathy in this at an early stage, and machine learning techniques are very instrumental in detection of such a severe disease at an early stage. Now, moving next, detection of cancer is another is another one of the most commonly used one of the most commonly used impacts of your data science. So there's this Inception framework which has been developed specifically with a target on breast cancer. So many a times what happens that these cancer images, when they are taken, the image happens to be very noisy. So you have like surrounding tissues, you have macrophages present all over the tumors. So it is very difficult to identify the cancer cells from your normal cells and macrophages. So this Inception framework, what it does, so in the first place, what it does, it uses heat maps to kind of improve the resolution of the tumors. So first it uses heat maps to improve the resolution of the tumors, and then to reduce the noises which is formed in the which is there in the form of normal cells or macrophages. It uses noise reduction. It uses reduction techniques similar to what I mentioned in the generative adversarial network. So all these, so this Inception framework is based on convolution neural networks, and at the end it's going to predict that if a particular tumor is cancerous or not. And before that, to enhance the quality of the predictions, it uses heat maps to enhance the quality of the to enhance the quality of the tumor images, and it reduces the noise which is present in the form of surrounding tissues to kind of prevent unnecessary interference in the image of the tumor. So this is one of the use cases. And moving next, we have like effective pattern recognition in machine learning. So effective pattern recognition is one of the most compelling use cases of machine learning, which uses unsupervised technique to identify specific patterns like in a medical image. So as you can see over here that this kind of performs a segmentation over here. It studies the pattern in the images and performs a segmentation which helps in the detection of osteoarthritis. So osteoarthritis is a complication related to the knees, and over here, as we are seeing, pattern recognition techniques and segmentation techniques are essential in identifying the progression and in identifying like how much prone a person is to osteoarthritis. So these are some of the use cases that how data science is impacting the field of medical imaging, how data science is impacting the field of medical diagnostics. So these are like some of the some of the most common use cases, like how data science and machine learning is impacting your medical imaging. Now a lot of companies so this is all about medical imaging, but a lot of companies have gone ahead and have made the use of like virtual reality in order to get a stimulation, in order to get a simulation of say organs, or or how the body parts work in real-time environment. One of such simulations which Microsoft is performing, so it's making use of virtual reality to perform simulations of organs in real time, and this project is called the Microsoft Hololens. So I'll just play this video for you to go through. So are you all able to hear the sound?
Absolutely the most amazing piece of technology.
No, Rituparna, I think the sound is very low. Can you just increase the sound a bit?
Yeah.
Immediate realization that this is something exciting and we have to do it.
Not yet. So are you using the same system, Rituparna, or is it a different speaker?
Or with some glasses. The thing that the HoloLens gives you is the ability to walk.
And video is also not visible, yeah.
Is the video visible?
No, it's not visible. So what you need to do, Rituparna, is you can just stop share and reshare once along with that window, because both the windows are different. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible now. Yeah. You can just increase the sound over there.
I think it's on maximum. Just a minute. I'll just use it.
Yeah, you can check your systems.
Yeah.
Now we can hear it. Yeah. Better than before. Yeah.
HoloLens is absolutely the most amazing piece of technology. Within 5 seconds, I realized that the world had changed. It was an immediate realization that this is something exciting and we have to be a part of this. Seeing things in 3D is something that you could do before with some glasses. The thing that the HoloLens gives you is the ability to walk around those 3D objects and to really experience them as if they're in the room with you.
It is augmented reality. It is mixed reality. And what that means is I still see you, I still see this room and everything around me, but the digital content is inserted into the room as if it's actually there.
As a teacher, I can see what they're all looking at. And that's something that we think has real power.
It's actually opening up our interactions with each other.
The biggest drive is getting the anatomy curriculum completely done by the time we move into the new health education campus.
Today, we and the Cleveland Clinic are constructing a state-of-the-future health education campus. Our students will learn using the most forward-looking educational programs. HoloLens is a key part of this.
The actual act of dissection hasn't changed in generations. We have to be much, much more effective and efficient.
The biggest thing about medical school is there's just so much information and so much knowledge you're being asked to learn.
HoloLens is going to enable us to teach in an integrated way and to look at the body in ways they haven't been able to see it. It's sort of having X-ray vision, seeing through the skin.
My mind was just kind of blown when I tried it on. It was perfect. It's really hard to understand what the anatomy and books trying to tell you. So with the HoloLens, we can literally show you what's happening with the body.
We can look at how the heart moves, or look at how the brain processes information and how information flows around in our brain.
They can see when the heart valves are closing and hear the sound.
How the diaphragm moves, when the lungs move. A click of the fingers is going to allow students to see how everything's interconnected in the body.
We have means to draw people's attention to things to get them where they need to look. Do you want to look and then pull the bones out?
What they really crave is learning anatomy in the context of what they need to know clinically. What are they going to need to know for their clerkships and their future careers?
With HoloLens, we can have essentially any disease that you want to see.
So when I see an image like this in the hospital, I know exactly what's going on. This is how to treat and diagnose them.
The HoloLens provides like a new way of teaching anatomy. It can really speed up the process of learning this material.
I think HoloLens is the next big transformative change in medical education.
So as we saw that, what's the extent of the impact which machine learning has on healthcare and pharmaceutical. The impact is massive actually in the field of diagnostics, medical imaging, the upcoming virtual reality, augmented reality, the processes of drug discovery, clinical trial, pharmacovigilance. So these are getting like massively impacted by the advent of data science, machine learning, and deep learning techniques. So whatever we discussed up till now is more around, it's more around the like a patient or the customer side of things. Now, what about the people who are providing these specific services? Like people who are kind of like providing the specific services. Say there are pharmaceutical companies, there are companies which are providing healthcare services. Like, what about them? So this brings us to a very interesting like area of pharmaceutics, which is analytics and business management. So these service providers, so when I say service providers, I mean pharmaceutical companies, healthcare companies. So these like healthcare and pharmaceutical service providers use like analytical tools and techniques to make strategic decisions, to make data-driven decisions. So analytics is one of the field which has been which has been extensively impacted with data science and machine learning. Like now we have like predictive modeling, like we have like natural language processing techniques, like we have a lot of like machine learning algorithms which help us in performing predictive modeling. And on top of that, we have languages like R, Python, visualization tools like Tableau, which helps us in deriving like very concrete and very concrete and important like data driven insights. And pharmaceutical companies and healthcare companies are taking a lot of advantage of this. So like business analytics and business management is something like which has improved a lot, especially for this pharmaceutical and healthcare service providers. So like how exactly does this work? Say I'm a pharmaceutical company and like I have few medications in place, and there are people who are taking this like medication. So what these pharmaceutical companies do is they take specific data-driven decisions. Like say the patient is the patient is opting for a therapy for a particular medication. Now, what the company can do to prevent the patient from dropping off the therapy, or what the company can do to help the patient continue in the therapy. There can be multiple reasons why patients drop from a particular therapy. It can be financial problems, it can be side effect, it can be negative experience. So how they can improve the customer experience such that they remain adherent to the therapy. So this forms a part of a specific like a sector of analytics called personalization. So personalization is one of the most important data-driven like decision-making process which is used by pharmaceutical companies. So what happens in case of personalization is that like companies study the journey of the patient and they help the patient remain adherent to the particular therapy or to the particular service by giving out specific recommendation which match their demands. And mind it, when I say the recommendations are very, very specific to the person. In other words, they are personalized. So this is what personalization like aims for. So so what essentially like happens in this case is how shall I monitor the journey of the patient? This is the first question when you are trying to design a personalization system. Like, how am I going to monitor the journey of the patient? So what essentially happens is the service providers essentially study the historical journey of similar patients. So when I say similar patients, like patients who belong to the same age group, patients who have similar comorbidities, so these are some of the criteria to kind of like put patients in similar cohorts. So what they do is they study the journey of similar patients, and using that information, they extrapolate what is the next action event like in the journey of the particular patient. So given a historical journey of the patient, what is the next action he's going to take? And if the next action in this case is a drop off, or he is discontinuing from the therapy, so even before the drop off happens, the companies get ready with the recommendation, and they reach out to the patient and give out the necessary recommendation, which helps the patient stay adherent in the therapy. Now, these recommendations can be anything. They can be financial assistance, assistance in the administration of medications, or it can be introduction to beneficial campaign. So like these kind of practices are very popular like in countries like USA, where they have copay cards given out in the form of financial assistance. They have nurse ambassador services which help the administration of medication to elderly patients. So these kind of like practices are very popular like in case of like countries like USA, and major pharmaceutical companies like your Pfizer, then like AbbVie do adopt these practices. Now like I gave out the recommendation to help the patient stay adherent in the therapy. Before that, I would like to mention that, you know, like these kind of like next action prediction models make use of sequence learning algorithms like LSTM, then RNNs, then other advanced architectures like transformer architectures, which help to predict what is the next like action in the like journey of the patient. Now I kind of like come up with recommendations you know, to give out to the person. How am I going to decide that, you know, like what recommendations are supposed to be given out, you know, which recommendations are the most impactful? So this this creates another like analytical study, which is called the impact measurement. So personalization and impact measurement go hand in hand. So what essentially happens in impact measurement is we take all of these recommendations and see which of these recommendations have maximum impact on the days of therapy. So the recommendations which have the maximum positive impact on the days of therapy are given out as recommendations. And to arrive at what recommendations have the maximum impact, we have models like structured equation modeling. Then we have like ordinary least square regressions, which model based on a given hypothesis that, you know, like what all factors or what all recommendations impact our days of therapy positively. So this is all we heard about patients, but these analytical studies are not just limited to patients. So these so as far as business analytics is concerned, it's not just a patient thing. It's also it also takes into account like doctors as well. Say I'm a pharmaceutical company and I have a specific medication which the doctors are prescribing. So there is a specific doctor who is prescribing the medication, and there is a doctor who's not prescribing the medication. So how can I so what can I do in order for the specific doctor to prescribe the given medication, or what the doctor has so what the specific doctor who's prescribing the given medication has as compared to the doctor who's not prescribing, which I can inculcate in the person who's not prescribing the medication. So these kind of like studies are mostly related to the dynamic targeting of the physicians, which help the physicians to identify the right set of patients for prescribing the given medications. So what generally companies do in this case is they kind of like roll out survey questionnaires, and using those survey questionnaires, what they do, they kind of like construct variables out of that. And these variables can be latent constructs also. By latent constructs, what I mean is they can be stuff like knowledge, satisfaction, awareness, which are otherwise like immeasurable. So there is no specific way to measure them. So we come up with latent. So the companies come up with latent constructs using some techniques like confirmatory factor analysis and use specific techniques, specific decision making techniques like your structured equation modeling or say a Bayesian network graph to arrive at what is impacting the fact that the person is prescribing the medication or not. So this is how companies conduct analytics on patients, analytics on physicians. Now the physician has prescribed the given medication, he's prescribing the given medication. So how are we going to strike a balance in this cycle of demand and supply? So this is where the concept of demand forecasting comes in. So demand forecasting is essentially like we use machine learning algorithms to predict the demand beforehand, which helps us to remain prepared for any future demand which is arising. So demand forecasting techniques can be as simple as a moving average method, and it can be as complex as an RNNs, which are recurrent neural networks, or LSTMs. So demand forecasting is one of the most instrumental tools in maintaining the stocks of medications, in preventing shortage, and in maintaining an optimal balance between demand and supply of medications. Now, the demand forecasting happens, when say we are buying medications from a particular pharmacy store. It doesn't always happen that the pharmacy store has a large stock, like a immeasurable stock of medicines, and he can just go there, take whichever medicine he wants and give it to us. So the medical stores have a very limited stock of the medications, given that some medicines have a short shelf life and they get damaged after a point of time. So how are we going to how are we going to prevent a shortage, and at the same time how are we going to prevent bulk of medications being destroyed due to oversupply? So this is where the concept of supply chain management comes in. So in case of supply chain management, what essentially happens is so the medical store first places an order. So the order should be an optimal order quantity, and it shouldn't be too high, it shouldn't be too less. The optimal order is placed to drug warehouses, and the drug warehouses deliver the specific medications. Now it's not going to happen that you place the order and zap, you have the medication in place. So it will take some time for the medication to reach from the drug warehouse to the pharmaceutical store. It will take a significant amount of time depending on the location and the distance of the drug warehouse. Now what if before my medication reaches me, what if before that my entire stock of medication depletes? So it's not going to happen, no, that the drugstore person is going to wait until the entire stock is going to go zero and then he'll place an order. So this is not going to happen. So there is an optimal quantity at which he's going to place an order. So this quantity is called the reorder point, and the time gap between the date when the order is placed and when the order is delivered is called the lead time. And all these constitute a part of supply chain management. Supply chain management is one of the most complex and important things which is running the supply chain of medications in majority of the top pharmaceutical companies. The supply chain disrupts, and there is an immense mayhem which is caused all around the world in the form of either shortage of medications or medications getting destroyed due to overstock. So the supply chain management is extremely essential to cater to the demand of medicines in the market, and to kind of maintain a balance between demand and supply. So this is something like which is extremely essential, and it's actually the like mismanagement of the supply chain, because of which people in rural areas are not able to get the right kind of medications, the right quality of medications. In fact, during my tenure in BITS Pilani, like my undergrad thesis focused on this topic, that like how to optimize the supply chain of medicine in rural areas, how to how to help people who are in the rural areas get the right quality of medicines in the right time, and to prevent shortage and overstock of medicines in rural areas. So most of these supply chain management techniques, this demand forecasting techniques, make use of like advanced like techniques like operation research, optimization, then graph theory, and a lot of other machine learning frameworks in place. So so this is how in an overall basis, it's not just like in the part of diagnostics, in the part of medical imaging, but also in the part of analytics, business management, operation management, that data science and machine learning has a huge role to play. So data science and healthcare are they are not different fields. They are like you can consider them to be like two sides of the same coin. So without the like advancement of data science, without the impact of data science and machine learning techniques, healthcare would not see the kind of advancement it's seeing today. So data science definitely has like huge impact, a major impact on the field of healthcare and pharmaceutical. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you. Over to you, Hemanka.
Hey, thanks, Rituparna. I think we really got a great insight about how data science is actually revolving the healthcare industry, and I personally like the concept of the Microsoft Hololens that you actually revealed here. I don't know how many of you had this idea, but it's going to actually change the way of doing medical investigations going ahead. Yeah, so that's really great. Thanks, Rituparna. Now we have stretched the time by half an hour, but I think that half an hour that we have stretched, it's worth spending it up. Yeah. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead with a round of Q&A. Though we won't be picking many questions because there are a lot of questions out there in the Q&A window, and same in the YouTube channel because this is streamed live in YouTube as well. But I'll just pick up few of the most common questions out there to understand how how the people are having the doubts out there, and how we can actually get an idea about getting into this field of healthcare as a data science professional. So before even going ahead with the round of Q&A, I'd just like to put up a quick announcement. The folks who have their sessions at 11 a.m., it has been scheduled for 11:30, so don't worry, you won't be missing out any of the sessions. Be here till the end of the session, and you can go ahead and join the session at 11:30. Now what I'll do is I'll just start with the round of Q&A, but before even going ahead with that, I'm putting up a link over there in the chat window. That is the feedback link. I want a quick feedback to be done for this particular session, which will help us here at Insaid to actually come up with much more innovative sessions, innovative ideas, innovative events going ahead. Get the feedback form done. Form is very, very important for us as an organization to understand where we are lagging behind and where we should actually go ahead with. And secondly, feedback form is mandatory for the certificates as well. So if you are looking for the participation certificates, please fill up the form and type down done in the chat window once done. Okay. So what I'll do is now I'll just go ahead and pick up 3 most asked questions. Apart from that, whatever personal questions you guys have, I request Rituparna, can you just share your email ID in the chat window, or you can just type it up in the screen. Just share what you can do is, everyone, you can just email Rituparna along with the doubts that you have, along with the queries that you have. Obviously, Rituparna is going to take some time replying it. Don't expect a reply immediately. Rituparna will take her time, but eventually she will reply you back with the solution. Yeah. So Rituparna, just type it in the screen, or you can put it up in the chat window. That's fine. So I'll just pick up 3 of the most asked question out there to understand how a person can actually get into the field of healthcare as a data science professional. The very first question that I can see is, Rituparna, That's from Renmai Day. He's asking that in the healthcare industry, can anyone join as a data scientist, or is there a particular specialization, let's say in biological sciences or biotechnology, gets the chances first? What's your opinion on that, Rituparna?
So in the field of healthcare, like I would say that so data science in the field of healthcare, I would say that anyone can get into the field of healthcare as a data scientist. But given that people who have the required because what happens is that when you're joining as a fresher, like your domain expertise and your domain knowledge doesn't matter a lot. But when you move to senior roles like a manager or like a principal, so in those areas, your domain expertise matter a lot actually. So like the domain knowledge, actually the importance of domain knowledge increases with the seniority which you have. So if we are talking about a fresher, then anyone can enter into the healthcare sector as a data scientist, and they can gain the required knowledge and rise above the rank. But when it comes to senior roles, they specifically look for the required domain expertise, because healthcare is a very extensive field. It has got like a lot of aspects to it, and without a domain knowledge, it's very difficult to be a leader. It's very difficult to manage a team. It's very difficult to guide a team. So domain knowledge is important, like when you reach to senior positions.
Totally agree with you on this, Rituparna. And as you go ahead with some senior roles, certain decisions needs to be made, and I think domain expertise becomes very important for these kind of decisions to be made. Great. So we'll go ahead with the next question. The next question is from Mandeep Suri, and what she is asking is, can data science reduce adverse clinical trials? Because obviously it takes a lot of time in terms of doing clinical trials before even going ahead with a release, right? So how is data science actually going to reduce that? So that is something which we want to understand from you, Rituparna.
So like as I mentioned, data science can be used to determine the efficacy of a particular like medications. But like these practices are still coming up. They are not being like used in full scale. So what happens in case of clinical trial is that majorly the clinical trials are performed like on an organism. It can be a guinea pig. It can be like like monkeys. It can be a like they are performed on like specific animals right now, and like over a period of time they study the impact of the given medication on these animals. And at times people have been advocating that like these things are not like very ethical, but like the future shows some promise that the data science can reduce these kind of practices. Data science can fasten up the process of clinical trials in the form of machine learning. And you saw this HoloLens thing. So like as you all know, like virtual like reality, augmented reality, metaverse is growing day by day. So with the advent of virtual reality, companies are looking forward to creating simulations where they can actually simulate the medications and see its effect instead of administering it into a real organism. So the future does show some promise, though they are not employed currently at a very large scale.
Okay, great. Coming to one of the interesting questions that I can see in the Q&A window, and that's related to the vaccination part. So how do you think data science has played an important role in the vaccine development and disbursement? Because if we just talk about COVID, since you actually talked about COVID in the very beginning itself, vaccination process actually was very rapid in terms of, if you just compare about the other vaccines that came up earlier, right? It used to take a lot of time to actually get a vaccine released after doing clinical trials, developments, etc. But this time it happened, it happened really fast. So was there any role of data science in it, or how can we actually justify that?
So when you talk about like vaccinations, so as I mentioned that the process of drug discovery or identification of the right kind of like drug or the right kind of like or organism like structure. So vaccines are essentially like they are kind of like in a way like deactivated organisms which like kind of helps to boost your immune systems. So like so companies have made some progress in terms of drug delivery, in case of like molecular drug identification, or in the identification of your biomarkers. So this biomarker thing has been like, one of the most important thing, in the COVID-19 scenarios. So all these vaccinations have been like constructed by taking the biomarkers into considerations, like how the biomarkers will be, what kind of what's the right kind of biomarker which will trigger the right kind of immunogenic response. So this biomarker has been a very important like determining factor in coming up with the vaccinations. And companies like they do have like their R&D teams which are kind of like performing research on the molecular structure of medications, on the structure of biomarkers, on the structures of mRNA, on the structures of siRNA. So they are like performing those researches. But like at the end of the day, since it's a vaccine and it's being administered to the human population, and to like kind of like decrease the risk associated with it, it has been like tested on like organisms as well. So this part of the testing has been done. So I would say that it's not just entirely like attributed to data science, but it has some components of data science in it. And I know like one of my professors in BITS, Pilani, so he's working on a collab project with an Australian university, where they are trying to like enhance the process of drug discovery for COVID using your machine learning. So these processes are in place, definitely in place. They have kind of like catalyzed the process of identification of medications, the identification of biomarkers for vaccinations. But the development of vaccines cannot be entirely attributed to them, because ultimately it's going to a human population, and they need to see it in a real-time environment as to how it's performing. And when I say a real-time environment, it's an organism like your monkeys, and how it's kind of performing in those kind of settings.
Okay, got it. Thanks for that, Rituparna. We'll go ahead with the last question, just one more minute, and that question is going to be I'm just diverting the direction from healthcare to you being in Microsoft right now, and I think that question is there in most of their minds. So the question is that what is the process of getting into Microsoft as a data scientist, right? You already cracked the role out there. So we just want to understand how we can actually, how the people out here can actually go ahead and crack a role in Microsoft as a data scientist. Yeah, that's the last question. Yeah,
so that's a very like tricky questions, like that's very tricky question actually. And my like journey to Microsoft has been like very kind of like tedious, I would say, very emotionally like draining for me. And like I know my husband is also like seeing this like conference on YouTube, and he's also like laughing, because he saw me like get up at 12 in the night and apply to roles in the career portal. So to put it in a more like generic way, so the very first process of selection into Microsoft is your resume should be shortlisted. Now, when you talk about data science role in top product companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Adobe, so like they have a preference towards master people, and specifically like PhD grads. So they are actually the first preference like for your like roles in data science and machine learning in top product based companies. But it's not always a rule of thumb that only PhDs are going to be selected. If you have the required like expertise, if you have the required skills, if you have the required projects, you're definitely going to like make it through. So the very first process is the process of resume selection. And I must admit that the process of resume selection in Microsoft is very tricky. Like I myself applied for like 24 roles like in Microsoft, and I got selected for just one of them and got rejected in 23 of them. So this is one thing, where you will be at a disadvantage when you do not have a PhD or a master degree. And I don't have a PhD or a master degree, but despite that, because of my projects, I did get selected for the interviews. Now the interviews at Microsoft are mostly so these roles are not your atypical data science roles. So these roles are basically like applied machine learning roles, which focus a lot on machine learning, software development, and they're not your like typical data science roles which you know. So all these all these interviews ask for a lot of expertise in machine learning, in terms of machine learning depth interviews, machine learning breadth interviews. So machine learning breadth covers like a broad range of all different algorithms, just to see the coverage of your knowledge. And machine learning depth deep dives into a specific algorithm. And these interviews they don't just ask you that what is this algorithm, what is that algorithm. They ask you about the mathematics and all. One very important thing to be taken into consideration when you are applying for data science role in product based companies is that you should be prepared with coding. So I had cracked two other product based companies along with Microsoft. So I had cracked PayPal, I had cracked Amazon along with Microsoft, and finally I decided to join Microsoft. And in all of these companies they asked me coding. When I say coding, it's your competitive coding. So it might not be as difficult as your what they're asking for SDE, but still those are like fairly difficult questions. So always be proficient in a programming language like Python. Be proficient with data structures, algorithms, because you never know when this is going to be helpful for you. So overall, with the right kind of projects, with the right kind of knowledge about machine learning algorithms in and out, with the required coding skills, you are definitely going to crack the Microsoft interviews. Because at the end of the day, these are not your atypical data science roles. These are all your applied ML roles.
Great. I think now everyone is actually getting that idea how to crack the roles in such companies out there. And I totally agree with you on this, Rituparna, that projects and even coding skills actually plays a very important role in cracking these roles, apart from the resume, which is obviously the very first step that needs to be there, right? So yeah, thanks for giving us this insights, Rituparna. So that's all from our side. What we'll do is now, Rituparna, just share the email ID right there in the chat window. Everyone is asking for that. So whatever personal questions everyone has related to, let's say your, I belong from this background, that background, can I get into data science, etc. All these kind of questions you can directly email to Rituparna. She will take her time. She'll reply you back eventually, obviously, but it's going to take some time. Give her some time, and she'll reply you back. And I think that's how the thing can go ahead, because we have around 30 to 40 questions right now, and it's impossible to take it because there are sessions starting from 11:30. And again, Rituparna is also has committed her own time for some other stuff. Yeah. So I think the email ID is right there in your chat window. Rituparna is going to put it up. Everyone whose questions hasn't been picked up yet, I know there are many people out there. Rituparna has actually, I'll just paste it in the screen as well. Control C. Now let me just paste it over the screen. Yeah, the email ID is right there in your screen, everyone. Just take a screenshot of the same. Email Rituparna with your questions. She will help you out with whatever questions you have. With that said, we'll bid a farewell to Rituparna and to this Data Care conference today. Thanks everyone for joining in. I think I have already got the feedback of the session, and that's really great to see such a warm feedback. We'll be coming up with such sessions every month. Not only sessions, we'll be having some other events as well, which you'll be getting notified. And the best part of actually attending these sessions, attending these hackathons here at Insaid, is that you'll be getting an all-round exposure to what data science is all about, from various industries, various problem statements, how to actually apply data science over XYZ use cases, etc. So that's the best part of attending these sessions here at Insaid. So thanks for putting up your time, everyone. The folks who have their sessions at 11:30, you have just 15 more minutes. Go ahead, take a sip of water, and you can go ahead and attend the sessions. The email ID is right there in your screen. Whosoever has some questions, just take a screenshot of the same, drop an email to Rituparna. She'll help you out. Shravan, the email ID is right there in your screen. I hope you are able to see that. Yeah. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in. Thanks Rituparna for putting up your time as well. And that too in such an emergency situation I got to know yesterday night. Thanks for attending the session here at Insaid. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.